What is up, ladies and gents? Welcome to a very spooky edition of Worth a Watch with me, Anthony Flores. Oh, it is that time of year again, surrounding oneself with classic horror films. It's always one of the best parts of Halloween for many people. For me, it is the best part. That and Halloween candy. It's always a good thing. Watching horror films is one of the newer things that I've done in the last few years, mainly because I was a big scaredy cat as a kid. And for those of you who have more recent, quick rundown before we get right into the review. I was terrified of horror films. I couldn't even as much listen to spooky sounds, like these little spooky soundtrack things that they play like at probably like your elementary school parties and whatnot. As a kid, I would literally be that kid, just I couldn't handle it. But movies like Ghostbusters and The Witches and a few other creepy but awesome movies I remember seeing growing up. Nightmare Before Christmas was one that freaked me the fuck out. Beetlejuice was also one. Movies like that paved the way for me to eventually warm up to even more awesome movies. And that was like Shaun of the Dead, Saw, Scream. A lot of those movies I saw hints of growing up, but I just couldn't quite make it up to the next level because they just terrified me so bad. Hell, even more recent movies like Insidious and Paranormal Activity. Some of those movies still kind of float back in my head every once in a while and creep me the fuck out. So, Halloween month is something I don't take lightly, along with the rest of the holidays, because it's something that's still so new to me, and there's a lot of horror films I know I haven't seen. And the few I know of, I definitely want to bring to the table, share my thoughts with you guys, and that's what I do on a yearly basis since I've started this, give or take. I've done this tradition of Halloween month. So thank you all for staying tuned, and if you've been subscribed to me more than a year, you know what I'm talking about. If you're new, welcome. Let's get down to the review of Repo, the Genetic Opera. Throughout this review, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to be giving hints of retrospective. And then right off the bat, I always wanted to compliment the artwork and style behind this film. Really love that comic book art style that is kind of seen interspliced throughout the film, like the title card you're looking at right now. That is shown briefly here or there in bits and pieces of the trailer, and that's where I even found out of the film in general. It's just the trailer on YouTube, late 2007, and the music, the style, the horror elements to it, the very just intriguing kind of storyline to it. It seemed pretty cool overall, and I just had to check out this movie. I liked the Saw films at the time. I was barely getting into those, and I thought, well, if the people behind Saw are making this, and it looks like there's some pretty legit actors and people involved and behind the scenes, I think this is something I definitely want to check out, and mainly for the music, which hooked me on. I'm not the biggest music fan out there in the world, but I enjoy a fair amount of rock music, and it intrigued me to mix that with horror and musicals. It's just such an intriguing premise. But moving on to the story, though, of the whole thing is started by the explanation of an epidemic of organ failures. It is an unfortunate thing. You see the gruesome deaths and people just struggling to literally stay alive due to their diseases and everything else. It isn't quite explained as to why or how this epidemic happened, but the biggest thing that happened for these people in this particular movie's universe, a very Blade Runner meets Saw-esque type atmosphere, is the company that comes out of the woodwork and helps people buy organs for a cost. This guy right here, Rati Largo, played by Paul Sorvino. He is the very Donald Trump-esque douchebag that ends up founding the company of GeneCo, creates it for the purpose of helping out people at the start. He helps them out, just there's organs for everybody, basically, to stay alive. But there are payments that must be made, like your car payment or your laptop payment or something. But when you don't make the payment, that is when things really go to hell for you. He eventually legalizes organ repossession. You heard me right. That is one of the very fucked up and dark things that this particular character does in the film. And yeah, let's just say it leads to much worse things, as you can see here. He creates the program of the Repo Man, and we focus on one particular Repo Man throughout the film,
by the name of Nathan Wallace. As you can see, he's doing some really terrible things. But there is a big duality to his character. There is two sides to this Repo Man. He is also a very overprotective father. He is a doctor. He's just a man trying to save his daughter from a blood disorder. And his daughter is played by Alexa Vega from the Spy Kids movies. And he himself is played by Anthony Stewart Head. Most people, I believe, know him from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But he is very overprotective, doesn't want his daughter to know his secrets about being the Repo Man, doing all those terrible things. So therefore he basically has a tangled situation for her, just keeping her in a room all the time, all of her life basically, keeping her out from disease and everything of the world because, well, she could get sick a lot easier than most. But she is on the complete opposite end of that spectrum. She wants to experience life, no matter how gruesome and crazy it can be on the outside world from her room. She wants to experience things, and she also meets like random weird characters like the grave robber here, played by Terrence Zdunich, if I'm saying that name right. He is one of the original co-creators of the stage play of Repo the Genetic Opera, and he provides drugs. Zydrate in particular, I believe the drug is called in the film, and one of his main customers is Paris Hilton's character Amber Sweet. Very drugged up, just bratty individual. I say perfect casting for her. This is her brother, two brothers in particular that are introduced, Luigi and Pavi. This motherfucker right here loves to put on people's faces, kind of like that new Joker that's in comic books right now. And the final character I wanted to speak with y'all is Blind Mag, played by Sarah Brightman. I never heard of her before this film, but I'm glad I did eventually know more of her in retrospect. She is a beautiful singer, hands down, and she gives so much credentials to this role of Blind Mag. Her main story arc is befriending Shiloh and giving her a bit of understanding of what things have happened, and just basically you find out more stuff that I do not want to spoil for you guys. But she does have a relationship with Shiloh, and she shows her abilities with her eyes, and just these implanted eyes that she got from Rati Largo's company Genco. The downside to that is the main story arc for her is that she is performing a farewell concert, and she wants to prove to Rati that she doesn't need her eyes to live. She is done with being the spokesperson / slave to the company because she is under contract for life to do such terrible things for him.
I'm going to dive right into my nitpicks, my criticisms. Definitely has a perfect blend of B-movie acting and some really legitimate acting, whether it's from Anthony Stewart Head, Sarah Brightman, Alexa Vega, and Paul Sorvino. Those four people bring a lot of legitimacy in terms of acting and singing to this movie. The other actors are definitely there to be more the over-the-top, really crazy, fucked-up side of this movie, the very bloody, gory stuff. When it comes down to performances, I've already discussed a lot of the main points of what some of these people are here for. Sarah Brightman was honestly the standout for me. She gave so much credibility to the role. She is Blind Mag. She is arguably the best part of the movie in terms of performance. And then there's Anthony Stewart Head. I know many people know him from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There's a lot of duality with his role, being that very overprotective, really overprotective dad versus having to hide the dark secret that he is the Repo Man. And Alexa Vega, one of the bigger newcomers at the time, coming off of Spy Kids and stuff, she surprised me. I just think, holy shit, that's Carmen Cortez. That's what is she doing in this weird, over-the-top rock opera horror film? And she held her own against all these veteran actors and singers. She was pretty solid in the singing department. She was really good overall in the acting department. And I think she brought a lot of innocence to the character and what she goes through. When it comes to a lot of the other B-movies, smaller characters, I have the only one that was kind of a standout, at least, was kind of the narrator / drug provider for a lot of people for the Zydrate, I believe it's called. Their drug that is taken from dead bodies. That is Terrence Zdunich, as I already stated as well, that he is one of the original co-creators of the stage play. It was really cool and creepy as the grave robber, being the narrator for the whole film as well. Now for my gripes. One of the biggest things is I jokingly said that perfect casting for Paris Hilton. No, really, she is awful. All kinds of awful, really. She's not the worst performance I've ever seen in a movie, but fuck, even for B movie levels, she is just so bland and boring and uninspired that she has a singing moment with Sarah Brightman in this. Such a terrible thing that I think that was probably a joke that some people did. Yeah, sing with Sarah Brightman. That's going to be a good thing for you. It's going to prove you got some vocal range. I don't mean to be hating on Paris Hilton, but she's just... There was that period of time where she was just in random shit all the time, whether it was from her hit reality series to random movies like Cat in the Hat to this. And it's unfortunate that she was given roles because she's fucking terrible, just bad. Not even B-movie bad, just bad all around. It's unfortunate. That and some of the story has pacing here or there. It's a little bit wonky, but that's also probably because they're trying to make it like a stage play. It does feel very operatic. It feels like Act 1, 2, and 3. It feels all like it should be like that, and it makes sense, but there's some pacing issues, I won't lie, and there's some moments where it's very cringe-worthy, especially some of the dialogue, and a couple songs were a little cringe-worthy, but all in all, this movie is a lot of fun. It's very entertaining, it's very gory, and it's very, very much a niche audience that this movie was meant for, and if you're not open-minded with something like this, yeah, you're probably not going to enjoy this, but if you're really wanting something random, kind of unique, actually, and some solid rock opera music, I mean, this could be up your alley, especially with the people involved. Again, I shouldn't have joked around with it, but when I dove into more of the special features, I saw there was a lot of passion with this. You can tell that there was a lot of people, the co-creators of the original stage play, and then Darren Lynn Bousman, the director of Saw 2 through 4, you can tell they had a lot of passion. You can tell the actors were giving it their all for the most part. And you saw that this random, weird as fuck little movie that probably should have been pretty bad came together really nicely. And I'm happy that I saw the trailer. I'm happy that it hooked me in with the music on its own. And then boom, I am one of my favorite cult classics ever. That's all I can say. And I didn't want to spoil anything for you guys. I know sometimes I try to do a bit of a retrospective with some of these older movies, but I think this is one you guys should seek out on your own. I think it could have been like on Hulu or Netflix recently. I'm not sure. Either way, finding the DVD or Blu-ray shouldn't be too hard. I don't believe it's out of production at this point as of filming this. But that should do it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the first video of Halloween month 2016. I hope y'all enjoyed it. It's been a yearly tradition for a long time, and I'm happy to keep doing this. I hope you all enjoyed this review. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that other good stuff in between. And let me know what are your thoughts if you've seen Repo, the Genetic Opera. So until next time, I'm Anthony Flores with Worth a Watch, and keep going to the movies.